Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board.
We are the weirdos, mister.
Black as night, erase death from our sight. White as light, mighty hectate make it right.
I myself am strange and unusual.
Cast a circle, spark some incense, and grab a cup of tea because it's time for the Coven Podcast. I'm Sharon.
And this is Wendy. Welcome back to the Coven, you guys. We're happy, as always, to have you here. Did I say words?
It got there. You were so excited. It's just like, word vomit. Yeah, I'm excited.
Having communication issues today, so hopefully my words work.
Yes. And we are going to be trying to tackle some beginner witchcraft questions today, as well as talking about some news, some magic, some zodiac, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So, Wendy, start us off. What do you have for us today?
All right. So I have a couple of news articles. One, I came across this this article that talked about this new book that was written called Haunted Surrey, Suffolk. Suffolk, not Suffolk, Suffolk, Suffolk. And it's by this woman named Pamela Kinney. And normally I'm just really excited to hear anything about anything paranormal whatsoever. This one is super cool. So what she does is she's written a whole book about spooky kind of locations around routes 10 and 460 in Virginia. And I know that's on the opposite side of the coast from where we're at, but I'm hoping some of our listeners are from over there. But she talks about paranormal, ghosts, hauntings, legends, lore, and that's right up our alley. Like if we were ever taking a trip to Virginia, I'd want to check out this book, read it, mark all the places that I'd want to go, that kind of thing. So
it looks really intriguing.
Yeah.
Because it's not just ghosts. Like if you look at it, she's even mentioning where there's UFO sightings. And I mean,
right. And Bigfoot stuff.
Yeah. Right? So it's like, it would be the catch-all because a lot of books will just focus on one of those types of sightings. So I can see how you were drawn to this. It's like, oh yes, this is the one book you need for this road or these two routes.
Exactly. So I was like, well, we did that episode from, was it Alabama? Is that where we went?
Yes, Alabama.
Yeah. So I was like, we should do Virginia. This will be the book we'll get.
I wish we could just road trip. That would be really fun.
That would be awesome. I would love it.
But for now, our road trips are limited to the web. Virtual road tripping. So maybe Virginia we can cover next. I know we've already gotten some comments from listeners who were excited at the idea of going to just different haunted regions, I guess. I don't know if we should necessarily keep it to just the states, but there's already 50 of those, so there's a lot to choose from. If you guys have a place we should go to virtually and look up, let us know.
Yes, we will definitely do our best. We love this kind of stuff.
Yeah, but good find on this book. This lady seems super charming and
her personal story was cool too. So I guess that when she was younger, her mother used to have dreams, and then those dreams would end up coming true. And so she just thought her mom had this kind of like shine or gift or something. Mm-hmm. And then by the time she made it into high school, she herself had seen a ghost. And so that really spawned her to really want to look more and more into the paranormal. And so she's written several different books, mostly based out of Virginia, I would say, some on her personal experiences. And she talks about all sorts of things. In fact, she had a book called Book of the Dead, which she talks about the afterlife. I thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, that's definitely really cool.
Yeah.
Man, just talking about like going to haunted locations, it's been something I've been wanting to do with you for a while, just like going to the haunted coast and staying at the B&B and this and that. And like one day I want to own a haunted property, dang it. We can open like our own haunted B&B or just live there.
Have fun. Absolutely.
Yeah, we could do all of our magic and podcasting there. We'll just have like a Cousins Coven building.
Yes. I love it. I have another cool, fun news article that I thought that you would enjoy.
Awesome.
This one I think you're gonna love so much, but I think we talked about this before, just very briefly. But they used to have these vampire kits, like in the 1800s.
Like 1800s, yeah.
Yeah, and so this one, there's one for sale that's come up, and it's an authentic 19th century kit that someone had put together. I guess it's antique, and the box is wooden with brass trims, and it has all the tools inside, including like a 19th century Bible, some crucifixes, a pistol, and they show a picture of it. And what I love is that it's inlaid in this pink color, and I was like,
it's so
pristine.
Cool. Like,
yes,
it is really, really pretty, and it almost makes me skeptical because I'm like, is it authentic? Because it's just so pretty.
right.
I'm super intrigued though. Like, I would, if I just had that kind of money where I could just buy stupid things and fill my house with it. Not that I already don't do that, but expensive stupid things. This would be one of them.
Right.
I would totally buy vampire hunting kits. Dang it, you're making me want this. It's
Yeah.
just too cute. Like, I can't even tell what's going on. There's like little bottles of who knows what, and the pistol and the crucifix.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to take this to our house cleansings. Yeah, it's just so clean.
Yes. So it says too that that pink inlay, or they called it crimson, that little inlay is made out of silk.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just on the inside of the lid, and the little enamel, there's a little enamel painting like in a circle on the lid, on the inside of the lid. And that is showing a picture of Christ's resurrection. And then next to the painting is kind of this square, and that's just an ivory carving of a wolf wearing a hooded robe and carrying rosary beads. And so they
A
think
werewolf
that
priest?
Yes, exactly.
This is so
Yeah.
gothic. I love it.
Mhm. Mhm. And they thought that at auction this would go probably be sold for around $4,000, but its estimated worth is about 2,500 up to 3,700. So if you're wanting to spend $4,000, you could. And there's a really cool picture. Like if you scroll down even further, they do a little close up so you can see the wolf. It kind of looks like this cool statue in a box. That wolf.
Yeah, I see him.
Super freaking cool. Just
Yeah.
love it.
It is really cool. I remember when we were talking about vampires, I think it was like Vampires and Sex Magic was our episode. And I was looking into these vampire boxes and vampire hunters, and this thing was really desirable at auction. And Ripley's Believe It or Not, I guess Ripley was kind of known for a lot of fake stuff and hoaxes and things like that. So they would replicate these boxes and put them in their museum or auction them off, and they wouldn't always be authentic. And I don't know what it says, if there's just like a macabre type of collector out there, or what kind of people are into this. Like I'm into it, but it seems to be a desirable thing. I wonder how many of these are really out there that have survived from the 1800s.
Right. Yeah. It's cool. It's super cool. So I do feel like there's a market out there for this kind of stuff for sure, because there are people who love oddities, and whether they want it to be displayed in their home or maybe they just want it for some sort of purposes, I feel like people gravitate towards this stuff.
I don't know if it's like the mystique, the mystery, the power.
Right.
It's just pretty cool. I'm wondering too, like, can we just make our own witches boxes and then bury them, and then like in 200 years they'll be like, whoa, look at this little witch box, it's like a travel altar, and they'll auction it off.
I love it. That'd be so cool.
Yeah. Okay, so did you also have some news for us today?
Not news, but I had I just did my news, so I think I'll go into Leo. Yeah, that was our news, those two things.
Okay.
But we're in Leo season. So Leo astrology. So The astrological symbol Leo starts July 22nd, goes all the way to August 22nd. And through conversations prior to podcast, both Sharon and I know many Leos, most of them in our family.
Right. So intimate relationships with Leos, which it's fun to be able to talk about and learn more about our people.
Yes, yes. So these people are in the 5th zodiac sign. They are represented by fire. Their ruling planet is the sun. Their tarot card is strength. And when you see pictures of the Leo, obviously that's the lion. Crystals and stones for Leo would be like peridot. That's the main one. That would be like the birthstone. But then I found out that they work really well with tiger's eye for protection. A sunstone, since they have a fire sign, sunstone makes them really strong. It makes their abilities amplified. Amber is really good for giving them some sort of confidence, and opal was another good stone for them, which I think opal had to do with wisdom or something like that. And traits for these people. So these, just like a lion, these people are really headstrong. They're born leaders. They can be generous and loving people. They're very great protectors. They're charismatic, beautiful people. And some of their other characteristics is that they can be a little bit vain. They give into their ego quite a bit. They can be demanding and dominating because they like to be the leader. And so that makes them want to be in control in a relationship. And so that means that they're compatible with people who are Aries, Gemini, Sagittarius, and Libra. And jobs for these people would be like they make good managers, good teachers, good artists, and anything working with animals. They're really good at doing that kind of stuff too. Now, I didn't look up any famous people, but do you know any famous Leos off the top of your...
No, I don't. I just am Googling furiously. Let's see. Barack Obama, Daniel Radcliffe, Ben Affleck, Carl Jung, Viola Davis, Alfred Hitchcock. So, yeah, that's an assorted group of people. I guess all very confident, headstrong,
eccentric.
Yeah, eccentric for sure.
Yeah.
I remember when asking the Leos in my life, I was like, well, I'm going to talk about Leos. What do you think about Leos? And they just told me, Leos like attention.
For sure. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. I think it would make sense for a lot of actors to be Leos in that sense.
Yeah.
These people,
right. They can be a little bit dramatic, but so can I. I'm a Pisces, so
drama. Yeah. And almost like unapologetic. Like there was a lot of good Leo memes just about Leos being like, well, instead of apologizing, they're just like, well, I said the truth, so...
It's just funny because my daughter's a Leo, and that's exactly how she says things to me.
Yeah.
And my husband too, he's a Leo, so he says that too.
Right. Like, it just feels right. Right. So shout out to our Leos and all of our Leo listeners. I think that it's kind of different than us Pisces, like, but it's something that I admire because you don't mind being the center of attention or you know, speaking up for yourself and speaking your mind. That's something that I always struggle with. So when I see other people that are just so good at it naturally, I'm like, oh, good for you.
Yes. So I had one other kind of astrological thing to talk about. So for those who listened to us on Patreon last week, Sharon talked about Ophiuchus Ophiuchus. Sorry, I keep saying it wrong. Ophiuchus. And so this one, you just briefly talked about that this was potentially a 13th zodiac.
Right. It's kind of like fake news that NASA discovered the 13th zodiac and it keeps resurfacing, but that doesn't mean there's not technically that zodiac like that. I guess it exists, right?
Yes, it exists. And it actually existed before the 12th. And remember last week, I had said, so in Patreon, we were talking about it a little bit, and I joked that the reason why we didn't have any more is because 13 is a superstitious number, and I was right. My instinct was that it was superstitious, so they scrapped it, and that's correct.
Oh, shit.
But there's actually more than just 13, and I think they kept it to 12 because of the months on the calendar. And that was what I had said too, just thinking intuition wise, that's why I would do it.
Right.
So that is exactly why that they kept it to the 12 zodiac signs, one for each month. So but we were curious, I know you were curious, I was curious to know just a little bit more about Ophiuchus, and so I looked up the story behind the constellation and looked up some facts about it. So I wanted to share those with everybody. So this Ophiuchus is known as the serpent bearer. It's a constellation that is 410 light years from Earth. It has 10 stars and 15 planets in it, and it's best visible in the northern hemisphere in July. And funny thing is that I found out that the Voyager 1 space probe is actually headed to that constellation, and as of July of 2020 is making it there and doing some rounds and taking pictures, which I thought was pretty amazing. And crazy that I had a synchronicity with it this week too. Like, I had went out to go look at some stars. We'd had some really hot weather. I went out, was looking up, and boom, I saw this beautiful constellation. I was like, I don't think I've seen this one before. So I grabbed out my star app, and it gave me this name, Ophiuchus. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? I was like, I don't remember this.
This is really weird. I wonder if that's why the article resurfaced, because we're in the month that it belongs in, July.
Right. Yeah.
And then we're talking about it, and you actually just looked up and happened to see it. Wow.
Yes.
So what is the character, or what is it of?
So here's the story. Here's the Greek mythology story. So Ophiuchus isn't the original name of who it's based after, but I'll kind of go into it. So there was this woman named Coronis, and she was I know, right?
I can't even hear those words together.
We're in the coronavirus, Coronis. Oh my gosh. This is July. This is crazy. It's all these synchronicities.
I don't trust her.
So Coronis was the daughter of this guy named King Pelagius of the Lapiths, who happened to be someone who could raise people from the dead, and he happened to raise Orion upon his death.
Oh shit. I'm already into this.
Right. And then she ended up meeting Apollo, and they kind of started dating each other. And while they were dating, not married, mind you, but I guess those gods back in the day, when you were dating them, you were their property. So they started dating. She became pregnant. And
I don't think marriage was a concept. It's more of a modern day thing. So a lot of these things, they didn't have to be married to be having babies and be together in partnership.
Right, exactly. So with them, she became pregnant. But while they were still in this kind of courting process, and she was pregnant, and she met somebody, a human man named Ishus, and she fell in love with him. Well, she was doing this behind Apollo's back, and Apollo, he kind of had a feeling that she was cheating on him. And so what he did was he took a white crow. Now, I didn't know white crows exist, but apparently they actually do. I looked that up. I was like, what? So
wow. Are they like albino, or that's an actual subspecies?
It's just their natural coloring. They still have black eyes.
Ooh, I'm on Google. White crow.
Yeah. But apparently during that time period, there were only white crows, but I'll explain that in a minute. So he took the white crow, who was supposed to do his bidding. He used them frequently to go spy on people. And so he used it to spy on Coronis. And so he sent it after her, and the crow ended up seeing, I don't know if it was that, to me, the story read that he could see through the white crow's eyes. And I thought that
Oh
was
my
very
God.
interesting. Yeah. So he could see that she was having an affair. And he got really angry. He was not just angry at the fact that that she was having the affair, but he was mad because his white crow didn't peck Ish's eyes out right away. And so he put a curse on the crow to turned it black. And now all crows are black because of this curse. And so so he finds out, anyways, Apollo finds out about the affair. He's got proof that she's actually sleeping with somebody else while she's pregnant with his child. And so what he does is he goes to his sister Artemis and tells him, hey, Coronis is having an affair. Well, Artemis, I don't know if you know much about her, but she was really good with a bow and arrow. And so she went after Coronis, shot her with a whole quiver full of arrows. Remember that Coronis is pregnant during this time. And Apollo was with her. So Coronis dies from being shot with all these arrows. And Apollo delivers the baby and saves his son and names him Aesculapius. So Apollo was kind of this great god person. And what he did was, it was really typical for these gods to have somebody else raise their children. So he took Aesculapius. Yeah, sorry about this pronunciation, you guys.
I mean, the name, it's the name's fault. It's like a dinosaur.
Right.
Too much.
So he took his son to Sharon, which is actually sometimes pronounced Sharon. I thought you would think that was cool. Sharon happened to be a very wise centaur who taught magic and medicine and that kind of stuff.
Centaur.
Yes. So Sharon taught Aesculapius the art of medicine to the point where Aesculapius became this like fierce, knowledgeable practitioner, like one of the best practitioners you could ever go to. And at this point, as he was aging and learning all this stuff, like even by the teenage years, Aesculapius knew a lot about medicine, like more than most people would know. And Hades, the king of the underworld, found out and felt that Aesculapius was a threat. So Hades went to Aesculapius and struck him with a thunderbolt, which caused Aesculapius to die and go up among the stars. And that's where he became Ophiuchus, which they considered to be the great healer and serpent bearer. And they now use that symbol in medicine.
Okay. So that is that symbol. I've been hearing about that symbol recently and just how, but I didn't know all of this. Like, honestly, I just want you to teach me all of Greek mythology, because when you tell it, it's like really fun. It's like this drama, soap opera. But when I read it, it gets just so convoluted. I don't even get how to say the name, so I give up.
Oh. Well, I'm glad I could break it down. I love these stories.
Yes, it's a good oral tradition, you know. I don't want to read it. Someone tell it to me. Interesting tale. What were your thoughts when you were first reading it? Like, what stood out to you?
I was like, okay, the crow thing I thought was kind of cool. I definitely loved, of course, the Orion thing stood out to me since I'm attached to that constellation. So I was like, oh, Coronis, you were related to somebody who rose Orion from the dead.
And then Artemis, isn't Artemis basically the same as Diana, depending on what culture?
Yes. Yeah.
So I know Artemis, you talked about Diana and
how she
her
courted
lover.
Orion. Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, oh, this is all connected, but we're just like further expanding on it all.
Right. Exactly. And it's crazy because Artemis usually was fighting for women, but because she did wrong to her brother, she had to stand up for her brother, because Apollo would always stand up for Artemis. And so they were these fierce brother-sister dynamic where they were always on each other's side, even if it was for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, you just have to stick with your siblings sometimes.
Right. Dang it.
I get it. Loyalties.
Yeah.
So that gives me more of a connection to that constellation and to the just, I guess, Greek mythology in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes me want to do more. I forget how much I love doing research like this, and it makes me want to do more. So I was like, dang, we should do this again.
Down.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Mhm.
There's plenty of magical women to talk about, and it seems like a lot of magical terms in history even stems from Greek mythology. Like today, I was telling you earlier, I was just really interested in looking up necromancy and
Right.
realizing that necromancy isn't just like, oh, you're rising things from the dead like
Mm-hmm.
zombies. It's actually it's just like the Greek word, I think, for talking to the dead or something like that. I forgot,
Mm-hmm.
but it's
Right.
basically more simple. It's just benign divination and using ancestors and spirit guides to help you on your quest. And I
Mm-hmm.
just find that in those tales they'll have the hero, I think it was like Circe, she makes some sort of elixir and helps a hero go through the underworld, and like his journey through the underworld, and giving each like spirit some sort of a drink to help them. Like those kind of stories are so intriguing to me.
Yeah. Very cool.
We'll have to look more into that stuff.
Yes. There's so
um
many things we always want to talk about. I'm like, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this.
because it's like I'll know like a tiny bit about it, but I'm like, but what's the whole story? I think I need to spend more time looking into that.
Right. For sure. What else do we got?
Next is your car wash magic.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so this weekend we were washing cars, and my daughter was like, "Hey, do you think we could do magic while we're washing the car?" I was like, "Why not?" So we just took
I
it.
love that. Why not?
Yeah, why not? So as we were filling up the bucket with water, we were just imbuing magic into the rags, and then as I was washing in a specific circle, and we were just doing our magic, protection magic around the vehicle. So now the vehicle is imbued with that. So I just kind of wanted to share that you can pretty much do magic in anything you want as long as you put your intention into it.
Totally love that, because how practical is that?
Right.
And I've never really thought about that because I'm so lazy. I never wash my car. Like when I wash my car, I just go through a drive-through and I push a button and I'm like, "Ooh, look at these little Muppets cleaning my windows." So that's like how I have car wash magic, is just I enjoy sponges. Um, so I really liked your version better.
It's a lot of hard work, but isn't magic sometimes? I mean,
Yeah.
you have to put your intention and you're basically just fortifying it by putting that intention in there. So, yeah.
It's like a subgenre of travel magic,
Mm-hmm.
protection magic, and really
Mm-hmm.
just practical magic. It's modern day. I think it's really cute. It reminds me of how we talk about that with cooking magic, how you can just like put
Yeah.
protection when you're baking a cake, the way you stir it,
Mm-hmm.
what intentions do you pour into it, and like you said, it's all about how much you pour into it. So
Right.
that's so exciting.
Me
I
too.
think I now have motivation to actually clean my car, but will I is the question.
It's that follow through, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So should we move on to some of our beginner witch questions?
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it.
Awesome. So I've noticed this summer, I don't know if it's Corona or, what's going on, but we've had a lot of new listeners. So welcome to the Coven. And we were just thinking, maybe if you're new to the idea of a witch or witchcraft, these might be some questions you're thinking about. So one of the first questions is that I actually kind of get embarrassed in real life to be answering is like, what is a witch? Most people, when you say that, or if they hear that, they'll look at you funny, think you're evil, or just be confused on what you mean.
Right.
And I genuinely just have a hard time because I feel like it's this area in my life that's so hard for me to be open with, because the more open you are, it's like there's room for judgment, I guess, but you just have to get to
Mm-hmm.
that point where you don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Or, so I guess, how do we answer that question? For me, I would think, what is a witch? A witch is someone who connects with nature, connects with themselves, and is just trying to follow their intuitions to be a better person, and be a good person. That might sound lame, but I think that would be like a very basic answer. What about you?
What is a witch to me? A witch is someone who is constantly working on themselves to better themselves. At least that's what witchcraft is to me, and being a witch is to me.
Yes.
So for me, it's about growth and balance and getting in touch with the outside universe and the outside, like Earth, like what's happening on Earth going outside. So, the elements and that kind of thing. So that's how I would explain it, I guess.
Right. And I guess for every person, the witch it's different for everybody, every culture. And I think it's kind of like a lifestyle for me personally.
Right.
It's like a outlook, a way of life. When I took on that knowledge of witchcraft, it just changed my whole lens and everything that I go about in my day. Just like you said, you're washing your car now with intention. You can really make it your everyday thing. Everything you do can be filled with intention. And so, yeah, that's why I think being a witch is very individual for each person. And that kind of leads me to our next question is, can anyone be a witch? Which to some might seem like an odd question, but like there's this idea that maybe it has to be part of your family lineage or something like that. Maybe because you're an outsider and you're curious, you don't really know where to start. Those kind of two questions go, I think, hand in hand. But I would say, yes, anyone can be a witch, male or female, and you can just get self-initiated and I think self-taught.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I feel like anyone, everyone, it doesn't matter. Even if you have a specific religion, if it's within your religious guidelines, I suppose you could be a witch. Because I know that there are some that would not approve just based on the word itself.
Right. Because there's a lot of weird stigma about what witches do, what witches believe, and their intention. But I just I've never ever seen any of that being true.
Right.
As far as witches praying to the devil or trying to hurt people. Like, I think there's just this fear of a woman empowered and fear of individualism sometimes that's just like a long standing thing that maybe started like way before any of us were born and has just kind of continued. So there's just that fear aspect. There's just so much to talk about as far as misconceptions of witchcraft, and so it does all like blend together. And like how you're saying, you can be a Christian witch. I feel like we've seen that. You can be any religion and still have things about you that might get you that label. Maybe it's divination. Maybe you do tarot cards. Maybe you talk to ghosts. Maybe you're really into herbalism and you use those herbs to heal your family. There's so many things that are under the umbrella term of what was labeled as a witch and still remains part of witchcraft culture. It's a very broad culture, from herbalism to ghosts to everything in between, but I've never really seen any witches doing anything evil. It's always about using the cards to maybe help warn someone, to help guide someone, to inspire someone, to shed light on yourself and your own shadows. There's nothing evil about reading cards. That's another one that I just find odd, that insight into your own mind is evil. And that's where I feel like religions try to box your brain in so you're not thinking for yourself. And as a witch, that's something that has been about self-empowerment. You know what I mean? It's that self-knowledge. That's what magic is. Know thyself.
Yeah, know thyself. Yeah, for sure. And then, I mean, we could even bring it into herbology. So like most religions don't care if you're using herbs. We use them in our food. We use them to heal. If you're a naturalist, an herbalist, what are those called? Use herbal remedies. That could be considered an herbal witch, or even a kitchen witch, like we had talked about. So I feel like, yeah, anyone can do this. Anybody. It's just, if you want to do it, do it.
Right. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
you could be really overwhelmed because there's so
Mm-hmm.
much to it. It's very encompassing. It can be really all aspects of your life. So you could think, where to start? What do I do? I'm so overwhelmed. I would say like read, research, and what area calls to you. Start with that. But there's also a lot of basics that are just important that we've talked about on this podcast before. But I think it's important to always mention, like, the basics of learning about your own energy, how to conserve that energy and be aware of it, how to cast circles just to, build that energy and have that protection, and how to ground and center to the earth, and
Mm-hmm.
meditation. These are really,
Yeah.
really just mundane basics that'll get you a great foundation.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because, like, for me, I never cast a circle.
I feel
Never.
like I phased out of it, which is interesting that you said that. I think it's a really good energy exercise in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and it allows you to know that you can protect yourself with your own magic and power. You can
Mm-hmm.
connect with the earth and radiate that around you. It's
Right.
like, that's where I feel like those like not energizing, but those energy building skills are really great in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that practice and that repetition becomes something that builds you, and then to where in the future you're just kind of like, I woke up like this, like I just
Right.
have this all the time. You feel good, you got
Right.
it.
And I think
But
that comes
yeah,
with, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, keep going.
I was going to say, I think that comes with meditation too, because the more that you are meditated and grounded and centered, the more that you're already grounded and centered into those energies,
Oh yeah.
you're, and the elements. And
And
so,
deep breathing and that
mm-hmm.
slowing down the mind,
Mm-hmm.
and that is, to me, grounding and centering as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And you can direct your power where you want it to go, once you get a feel of those energies. And for me personally, like, I went on a different path than you. I think when it came to witchcraft, like, I learned scientifically about different things, how witchcraft works, by learning, like, basic basics in how atoms and molecules and things like that are done, so like actual science stuff, and then put it in with the spiritual, so I can combine them together to do this kind of great one. And you already knew that stuff innately, but I have this scientific part of my mind, and so it's really hard. Like, in the beginning, it was really hard for me. I had to learn the science behind it, and then
Mm.
how the energy is that way I could see how the energies flow, and they had names to them, whereas you were just like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like, most magical books don't go into the science, but maybe this is
Right.
something you can start doing.
Maybe. Maybe.
My Alan, what was it, Alan Cunningham? Yeah, I think that's his name. I'm just like trying to remember right now, but it was more like, just imagine some sort of mist coming out of you, whatever color radiates with you, a powerful light. And so in my head, I'm like, purpley mist, go! We're casting a circle. So it was very escapist, imaginative exercises too. And it's just like your mind has that kind of power. And I think that
Yeah.
it's like Tai Chi. Like, when you move your hands in these ways and you're moving the energy, you can feel it. Energy's
Hmm.
there. So I just feel like, yeah, it's an intuitive thing. It can be a scientific thing, and it is a blending of the two for sure.
Right. And we are made out of energy.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I read this news article this week. Sorry, side tangent. I
No,
read
yeah.
this article this week that scientists have determined that the human body vibrates at 8 hertz. And
Is
they
that
think
the
that
paranormal tone, or what's the paranormal tone?
this is the beginning of life. Like, this is the life creator. So 8 hertz, it creates life. And
Okay.
so at our cells, inside of our cells, deep inside, we just automatically resonate at that. And they've determined that that was because at the beginning of time there was this great lightning bolt that resonated at that tone, and so now all life on earth resonates with that 8 hertz.
It's just so sciencey that I only think I understand. I'm like, okay.
I just thought it was cool. My little mind was like, woohoo! We're all connected. It's
I
one
mean,
more thing.
right. I think we all really are as people, so that's no doubt.
Yeah.
And just talking about like all the sciencey stuff too, it kind of leads into, do witches really have power, or do spells really work? I don't know if there is a science to that. And I think it's really easy to doubt your own self, but I think again it is all about intention, manifestation, and belief, and also part of the universe. You know, like, is it meant to happen what you're trying to achieve? That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I'm Gandalf or anything, you know,
Right.
but
Right.
I do my best to use the law of attraction, manifestation, and
Mm-hmm.
just promote like a good atmosphere for myself, my mind, my home, and my energy.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, we know now that if a spell doesn't work, it probably either wasn't meant to be, or maybe we did it wrong. I think we did an episode about that before. We kind
True.
of talked
Yeah, we've
about,
talked a lot about this in depth, in
yeah,
fact, that it could
yeah,
be on a slower time frame than what you're
mm-hmm.
thinking, and all these other
Right,
aspects coming into play.
right. So, yeah, we really have power as long
Right?
as you
And
believe you have power.
true. And like, we have to think about like, what is power? Like, I think we've
Mm-hmm.
talked about how we believe everyone does have some sort of a psychic ability. I can't even say
Mm-hmm.
it. Some sort of psychic ability.
It's
And you
true.
can tap into that, and you can really listen to your intuition and trust it. And the more you do that, it's going to lead you down that road where it becomes stronger and more just like, oh, I trust it now. I know what this is, and lead to bigger things.
Mm-hmm.
And magic is really subtle. It could be more about the synchronicities going on around you, the repeating patterns, the signs, the numbers, nature. You know, we've talked about that a lot, how magic is just more subtle, and it is more of a lifestyle and a way of thinking than necessarily like Harry Potter.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, our wands, at least mine, I've never seen electricity come out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even have like a Harry Potter wand. I do have crystal wands because I do believe that crystals radiate
Yes.
certain energies and powers and things like
And they
that.
do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's been scientifically proven. So
Yes.
there.
Yeah. Everything has a vibration. You just have
Mhm.
to kind of tap into that vibration. And that, to me, is where my power comes from, is that I have that knowledge base that I learned, and that science side of myself, that everything does have a power. The desk, the chair that I'm sitting on, the desk that I'm sitting at, it has its own vibration, and it has its own feelings, even if it's inanimate, because it's made up of all of these molecules. And so I have to figure out what vibration it is if I want to tap into it. So my mind is always like, can I heal this if it's broken with just my mind?
Right. And what energies has that chair soaked up over time? Was it
Right,
sitting in an abusive home for 20 years? Like, is it a really
right,
negative haunted chair?
right. And can you heal it?
And can you heal it?
So,
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, these are abstract concepts, but hopefully it's
right.
making sense that
Right.
really it's really a perspective, a way of thinking and about your
Mhm.
energy and connecting
Right.
to almost like the force. Star Wars kind of had that right. Like, we're all a part of this
Yes.
energy, this force, and how are you
Mhm.
going to yield that in a sense?
Right. For sure.
And is witchcraft evil? This is something that I think a lot of people just innately say, yeah, witches are evil. They pray to Satan. Like, I don't
Right.
even know what they think we're doing, but there's just this knee-jerk reaction to have a really negative outlook towards witches. And I don't
Mhm.
understand how that still happens in modern day times. Like, can't you just see what's in front of you? It's usually just some like feminist or something. Like, calm
Mhm.
down.
But media in the past hasn't really helped us out. There are a lot of movies about witches that have to do with evil,
Right.
or even the
All
children's
all of them.
stories. Yeah, I was like, even the children's stories, every witch in there, except for maybe Glenda, the good witch, was evil in some shape or form. And so, of
Right.
course, there's still that stigma around whether we're evil or not, or whether witchcraft is evil.
Yeah.
There's so many books written about it.
Yeah, there's
Um,
like they're very villainized
mhm.
and also romanticized on what it is they actually do. But again, it is just that mundane folk magic. Like, it's probably just your grandma cooking with this healing herb and having intentions while she's doing it, or someone knowing how to protect their home and to cleanse out spirits, and just, all of these societies that have different superstitions and how to combat those superstitions. Like, a witch is usually the person in the town that you go to for healing, for advice. The shaman, the healer, like all these things that I think are more sacred. And somehow over time, this sacred role has become villainized and lost and kind of confused to where the word witch, some people don't even know what that really means.
Right. I feel like I need to write a poem about it. I'm like, WITCH. Let's make a poem out of that.
Yeah, like each line means a different word or whatever. I forgot what those are called.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
words.
But words are hard today for us guys. I just hope that I'm getting my thoughts across.
Me too.
I don't know until I edit. I'm gonna be like, well, hopefully that wasn't embarrassing.
I pretty much do this every week. I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know if words happened or not, or if coherent sentences came out.
Exactly.
It's always such a frenzy.
See, we're not evil. We're just people. Exactly. And most witches, I feel like, are really open-minded and good listeners, and are always down to read your cards or talk about your dreams, your problems, talk about gardening. I think witches make for great neighbors and community members.
I always think of myself as a really good therapist. Like, in a way, because it's like I'll have people who are like, oh, I have a wound, how do I take care of that? I'm like, aloe vera. Like, let's get this, let's do this, and then I'm like, oh, you're having problems with this mental part of yourself. Here, let me give you these steps that you can take to help better yourself. It's usually involves meditating.
It's nice that you are surrounded by people that are just like aware of your gifts and like open to receiving them, and you don't have to explain it. They just know to go to you.
Just know. That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so this question is for our new witches as well, and that is, where can you find other witches? It can be really polarizing if you don't have that connection or the intimate knowledge of somebody. It can be something that you are keeping secret and you don't know where to meet up. I would say right now, social media is your friend. I have heard there's a lot of witches on TikTok, and apparently it's a problem. I'm just like that old grandma who doesn't keep up. Okay, guys. Right. Apparently there's witches on TikTok. There's witches on pretty much any social media platform. And even Reddit, I've seen that's a good one where you can just go and like talk and share your pictures. Like, I was just on there today and I saw people were making their wreaths and their besoms and showing pictures of that and asking their questions. There's lots of witches on Tumblr. So, I mean, if you're new and you don't have anyone locally, there's always the internet. And locally, I think if you want to meet witches, when things aren't as crazy as they are right now, I'd say go to your local witch shops. They always have some sort of community groups and even yoga classes. I think you'll find like-minded people.
Some people like to be solitary, so I'm like, if you don't want to find other witches, you don't have to. But if you're old like me, go to Facebook and do a search for witches. Just do witches and then this place that you're in, like the state you're in, the city you're in, and you'll be able to find people. I know specifically for us, Oregon has their own witch Facebook group, and when you go on there, you can say, hey, I'm a new witch. This is where I'm at. Is there anybody in my area? And usually they'll be like, oh, yeah. And they'll give you a list of all these things that are coming up, meetups, things you can do to be a part of a group.
Yeah. I think there's a lot more of that day by day.
Yeah. I'm just so solitary. I never go do anything with anybody other than you and my family.
I'm really thankful for where I'm at right now because I'm content. I have, like I said, I have you too. Like, you're just a big witch supporter that I have locally, and that is so amazing. And that took me a long time to have. When I started, I did feel very isolated and I felt so alone. Like, I didn't have the voice to really open up to even you or family members. I didn't have the voice to open up to my friends. And so it took me a long time to get here. You know what I mean? So I guess that's just kind of speaking from my own experience, how in the beginning I did feel alone. And I always thought it would be really great to have this big coven. And then I even had experiences where I'd go to local things or local that. And you know what? I ended up finding out I am a solitary practitioner as well. Although I do love opening it up to sisters and friends like that, you know, just have intimate female moon times and things like that. But in general, yeah, I'm a solitary practitioner as well.
Yeah. All that stuff you kind of said kind of leads into our next question too.
Yeah. Can you stay in the broom closet? Like, do you have to come out and tell everybody I'm a witch? Certainly no. You do not. You can do it at your own pace. I feel like I slowly peek out. I go back in. I peek out. I go back in. I have places where I feel safe enough to talk about it and places where I know no one gives a crap about it. Like, I just kind of read the room as an empath, and I do have my own social anxieties, I guess I could say. So you do you. You'll be able to feel the vibes and find some people that you can connect on those topics and just start talking about it, and you'll be surprised. I've had that happen where I've had coworkers that I worked with for years, and it took us like 4 years to be like, we're both witches, yeah! And it was just like so scary to even have that conversation because we were both afraid of like, you're gonna judge me, no, you're gonna judge me. So it's just like, it's okay. It's okay. Just take it at your own pace.
Right. I know I'd like to say, don't be afraid, just hop out there. But even I'm afraid, like, I can't even tell my own father about my beliefs because I'm afraid of his judgment. And so,
yeah, same. I laugh because that's all I can do because I just totally 100% relate.
Yeah. It's like I'll go to tell him. I will literally go to tell him and something happens to stop me. And I'm just like, okay, maybe it's just not meant to be. Or maybe I want it not meant to be. You know what I mean? Maybe I don't want to do it because I'm so afraid of that judgment. And so I'm just manifesting that I'm never going to tell him.
Yeah, I totally get it. I remember like the last time I came close, I was just like, I am something else, ... I am good and content. Thank you for offering me the powers of Jesus.
Right.
I'm fine. Thank you.
Exactly. I think even yesterday my dad was over and he was saying something. Well, I believe blah, blah, blah. And it had to do with God. And I was like, well, I don't really know what I believe. And we'll just leave it at that.
That's just like opening the door a little bit too. Just like, okay, slowly preparing you that we're not on the same page.
Right.
Even though I'm a grown ass woman and you should be more open-minded, but you're not. Yeah. It's amazing. It is, 2020 and still the concept of a witch is super, I think, can be polarizing,
Right. It's hard because with everything that's going on in the world, like there is so much going on in the world, and yet we still find something to be racist about, whether it's somebody's color, somebody's beliefs, when we're not supposed to. If we were really abiding by Christian law, with my quotation marks around it, we wouldn't be judging anybody for anything, no matter what. And yet we still are.
I find the concept to be like very hypocritical because I'm trying to kind of speak broad and not come down on anybody really, but we're going here, guys. So like if you have some sort of a guideline, this is what we do, and if you don't do these things, then we judge you, but we don't judge anybody. It's just kind of like you're going back and forth. Like you can't put everything in a box. That's my term I just used because it's general, but like not everything is black and white in this world, and it never should be. There's a ton of freaking gray area, and so when we treat our own outlooks as the only way, I think that we miss out on learning and growing, and that's what we're here on this earth to do. We're all here to expand your consciousness. So what witchcraft has done for me has expanded it. It never has shrunken it. It's never kept me in one lane. I hop here, I hop there, I learn and I grow. And that's what I
Yes.
appreciate about it. And I feel like even
Mhm.
if you are a specific religion, good for you. It's doing what it needs to do. It's keeping you grounded. It's keeping
Mhm.
you safe, and whatever it's doing for you, I think it's probably what you need to be doing. But, let other people do their thing. And I don't think you
Right.
can discredit it. That's the one thing I find absurd is, like, in America anyway, we have this concept of, like, one God, and how dare anyone else think otherwise. And I'm just like, you're aware that there's, like, thousands of gods. How can you discredit all of them just because
Mhm.
you were taught one way?
Right. I get
I don't
that.
know. I guess maybe it's all about where you were brought up and what was
Mhm.
told to you at a young age,
Mhm. Mhm.
maybe.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. I could go off on lots of tangents, but I'm really holding myself back because I don't want to be judgy.
right, because yeah, I'm trying to say, like, other people don't judge, but then you feel judged, and so it's hard,
Yeah,
and then you
it
judge them
is.
for judging you.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like this
Yeah,
weird vicious cycle. Yeah,
right. So I guess all
right.
in all, as witches, it's better to try to take the high road and try
Mhm.
to just always stay good. Try to
Right.
always, if other people are coming at you, take the high
Right.
road.
Every time we make some sort of advancement in human belief, like I shouldn't say human, the belief that humanity has, like, oh, I'm finally going to accept somebody regardless of their sexual orientation.
Mm,
So once we make that step, I'm like, is it finally going to be time for me? Are you going to finally accept me for who I am?
right.
Yeah.
You,
Not to
it's,
say that anybody is better than the rest. It's just I feel like we should all be accepted. Like, I don't
right. And we have to
care
fight for each other,
who
all
you
the
are.
outcasts.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We all have
Yeah.
to be allies for each other. We have to
Mhm.
fight for the Black Lives Matter. We have to fight for the
Yes.
LGBTQ. Like,
Yes,
and
my
there's
friend.
always witches in the political movements. We always see the witch hats. We see the witch groups. It's because it's a group of women that have always felt like ostracized and,
Hmm.
burnt and all these horrible things in
Hmm.
the past and kept down. And so, like, I think it just shows that you can't keep us down. We're here. We're
Hmm.
women. We're gonna fight. We're men. We're everything.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. It reminds me. Okay, so everything we say always reminds me of something that's happened to me in my past.
mm,
But it's like there was this situation when I was younger. I went to a lot of concerts. I think I've talked about that before. Um, but in the early 90s, I went to this concert in Portland, good old Portland, who's so weird that you have to just love it. And went up there, it was punk. I was really into punk at that time. And these girls came out. I don't know. Hopefully, nobody will find offense, but they were called the cunts. I don't know if you've heard of them before.
I do
They,
not care about that word. I feel like say it, baby. I got one.
so
I shouldn't cringe at my own cunt.
right. So they came out and they came out topless with just little X duct tapes, like duct tape out of X, like an X mark on their nipples,
Hmm.
and then came out with duct tape across their mouths that says, "You can't silence me." And then they ripped it off and just started singing their songs. And I was like, yes, yes, can't silence me. You can't shut my cunt up. No.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, it's
It's
me.
true. There's a lot of, that's where it just all comes back to, like, feminism and witchcraft. There is definitely a link there, and that's probably why it's always
Mhm.
people associate witches with women a little bit more. But yeah, like,
Right.
people saying things like, "Oh, you're a pussy" means you're weak, when really the pussy is so strong it can stretch out and
Right.
push out a baby and then go back to its shape. Like, it's way stronger than your stupid balls and penis, which if you flick, you're in pain and on your knees. Like, my pussy is powerful and you're afraid of it. So, like, I get it.
Yeah.
It. That is
You
what
don't
being
know
a
what
witch
I've
is.
got.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
And you have to embrace what people tell you is evil, because honestly, society is probably the one that's fucked up, telling you what you have to be, but you know what you are. Feel
Right.
it and live it.
Yeah.
Pussy power. I don't
That's
even know how
right.
we got here.
Sorry.
I love it
It's my
though.
little side tangent. My little side tangents always take us in these great places.
I know. Or we just start spewing on our soapboxes, and it
Yeah.
just happens. But I just really want to encourage everyone to live their truth, whatever that looks like for you. And really, that is what a witch is. And
seek your knowledge.
Yes. Don't be afraid to try new things and be open-minded to others, no matter what path they're on.
Right.
And please hit us up with some questions. We need some questions, guys, whether it be about witchcraft or whether there's something you want us to research. I'm kind of thirsty for some inspiration right now.
Yeah, me too. It's crazy because I know that when we first started doing podcasts, we wanted to do seasons, and we did season 1 for quite a while, and then we took like a 3-month break, and we've been doing season 2 ever since. Like, we haven't ever taken a break after that. I'm just like, it's not that we're running out of material or mojo. I think I just need people to write in, tell us what you want to hear.
Yeah, it's always fun when it's a little interactive. Plus, sometimes we're busy, okay? So it's a lot easier to answer questions than it is for me to go learn about some complicated things.
And we took
but I love
last
talking
summer
about
off.
magic.
Yeah,
We did.
yeah. Love talking about magic. Love talking about the paranormal. And I got a bunch of factoids in this brain of mine for some reason.
Yeah.
This old brain of mine.
Still going strong, baby.
Yeah.
So I think this will be it for today's episode, unless there's anything else.
No, let's wrap it up. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Yes, thank you. And you can always hear us every Wednesday, wherever podcasts can be found. You can also hit up our blog at cousinscoven.home.blog, where you can listen to all of our season 1, see any blog posts. There's EVPs, all kinds of goodies over on there. We also have some merch available that'll be linked down below, and a Patreon if you want to listen to some of our after episodes, where we go kind of more into more intimate details here and there, and just kind of shoot the shit casually, even more than we do here. We love hearing from you guys, so please send in your emails to cousinscoven2@gmail.com.
And may you find happiness in your heart, love for yourself, and join each other. Blessings to all.